How's it going, everybody? Hope everyone is doing well. My name is Jason. I'll be your host today on this CFL talk show, Hussey's Huddle. In this video, we're going to be talking about breakout candidates for the 2021 CFL season. I've tried to include one for every team. I'm just really excited to talk about this kind of content today because I think breakout players are some of the most exciting storylines that we have to look forward to. But really quickly before we get started, if you want to support the channel, the best way to do it is by hitting the like button and subscribing to Hussey's Huddle for more CFL content just like this. I greatly appreciate it, everybody. And with that said, let's get on with the video. So as I said in the intro, I've included at least one breakout candidate for every team. Some teams are going to have multiple, but every team is at least included in this list. And I'm not going in any particular order as I list these off. This is just the order I thought of these players. So the first guy I want to talk about is defensive end Julian Houser of the Hamilton Tiger-Cats. And obviously this offseason the Tiger-Cats are dealing with the loss of defensive end Ja'Gared Davis, who I thought was their best player in 2021, and they lose him to the Toronto Argonauts, which hurts even more. But Houser has quietly been a very dependable starting defensive end on the other side of Ja'Gared Davis for the last couple of years now. And this is a guy that is quite an athlete. He plays a lot of special teams as well, has good speed, good size, has the ability to win with both power and finesse. So I think this is a guy that you could see have 8 to 10 sacks this year. I don't think he's ever going to be on the level of Ja'Gared Davis, but I think he could easily step into that, kind of number one edge rusher role with Hamilton. Then with Hamilton, they have guys on the inside like Micah Johnson, Ted Laurent, Dylan Wynn. I think one of those guys plays a lot more edge this year, but none of those guys are really natural fit for the edge position, and I think Houser is really going to be a guy that the Tiger-Cats depend on this season. Now staying in Hamilton, we have wide receiver Tim White of the Hamilton Tiger-Cats, and White quietly had an excellent rookie season in the CFL in 2021. Started off a bit slow, but you could see once he started to get a good feel for how the game operated, his speed really was a big difference maker for the Tiger-Cats offense. Made a lot of big plays down the field, most notably in the Labor Day game against Toronto. And I think that with that void that is left behind by the departure of Brandon Banks, there's going to be a lot more targets to go around in this Hamilton offense. And I think that Tim White is a candidate to have even bigger season in 2022. Now moving to Saskatchewan, and the guy I have pegged for a big breakout season in Saskatchewan this season is running back Jamal Morrow, who most notably just featured as a kick returner, punt returner, and an excellent one at that in his first season in the CFL in 2021. And I think that explosiveness combined with the fact that, he's been around the team for a year, gives him the inside track to start at that running back one position vacated by the departure of William Powell in free agency. Morrow has that breakaway speed that you've seen on those punt returns. Again, made a lot of big plays. And, sometimes that doesn't always translate to the running back position. There's a lot more other aspects you need to see. But I think that athleticism gives him a good shot at actually producing in that role for Saskatchewan. And like I said, I think he's going to have the first crack at it. And let's see if he takes it and runs with it. The next guy I have here is offensive lineman Shane Richards of the Toronto Argonauts. This is a guy that was the first overall pick in the 2019 CFL draft. And he had a big college pedigree, played at Oklahoma State, and is a huge dude. Honestly, he's, I think, 6'6", just a mammoth of a guy, but he hasn't really put it together from a technical aspect in his first couple CFL seasons, but he ended up starting a lot more games towards the back end of his second season in the CFL in 2021, and I'm really excited to see if he can actually jump into a full-time starting offensive lineman role this season with Toronto. I mean, some guys just take a little bit longer, and, with the CFL and their rookie contracts only being 2 years, sometimes we don't get to see that third year, but I'm really excited to see what he can do in year 3 with Toronto in a very good offensive line group in terms of the amount of depth that they have there, but I think he could easily compete for a starting role here with the Argos in year 3, and I'm really excited to see if he can do that. This next guy is a bit more of a dart throw because the sample size that we've seen him on a CFL field has just been so small, but I've just been so impressed with what he's been able to do in limited opportunities, and that is wide receiver Luther Novano of the Calgary Stampeders. A big physical wide receiver that has breakaway speed, created a lot of big plays in those limited opportunities that we saw in 2021, and had good chemistry with Bo Levi Mitchell when he was out there, and I think, like, unfortunately, he's going to be most remembered right now for the game against Hamilton last year, where he had a big play that almost got a touchdown, almost got his first career touchdown, and then the next drive, pass goes right off his breadbasket, bounces up in the air, and Simone Lawrence takes it back for a pick six. But other than that, I think Huka Novano has shown a lot so far in terms of that limited opportunities at the CFL level. Had a couple other good games last year as well. You know, with the departure of Hergy Mayala, I think this situation in Calgary is prime for a Canadian wide receiver to step up and really be a key contributor to this offense. And, you know, I know they got other guys there like Richie Sindani and Colton Hunjack, but I think this Huka Novano guy is the higher potential guy of all those three guys. So I think Calgary may have found a big gem in Huka Novano, and I think he is a major sleeper breakout candidate this season. Now, staying in Calgary here is another guy that was drafted in the last couple of years by the Stampeders, and that is defensive lineman Isaac Demi Bergland, a guy that could play at defensive end, he could play on the inside, and Calgary could potentially start two defensive linemen, Canadian defensive linemen next year in Derek Wigan and Demi Bergland. But Demi Bergland showed a lot in just his rookie season. He was getting a lot of rotational reps, which is always a great sign if you're a first-year CFL player, a Canadian guy that is already seeing regular time on either the offense or defensive side of the ball. It means that you're really in their future plans, and I think this season, Calgary didn't really do a whole lot to bring in a lot of edge guys. I mean, you do have Sean Lemon, who's still there, who will start on the opposite side. But I think that other edge position is ripe for the taking. And I think that with starting two Canadian defensive linemen is more than plausible for Calgary going into this season. And I think Demi Bergland could take that edge role and become one of the biggest breakout stars of this 2022 CFL season. This next guy is a guy that really only saw playing time on the back half of last season, and that is wide receiver Reggie White, not related to that Reggie White that you're thinking of in the NFL, but Reggie White of the Montreal Alouettes, wide receiver. And I think that this Montreal Alouettes receiving core is very good at the top. You have two elite receivers in Eugene Lewis and Jake Winicki, but I think that third, fourth wide receiver roles are really open for the taking for this team. And I think Reggie White has that athletic profile that he showcased in those opportunities and really became, I think, their third best receiver down the stretch already last season. I think he was already showing that he was more consistent than a guy like Quan Bray or other guys that they had on the roster. So I'm really excited to see what Reggie White can do here for the Alouettes in year two. And, you know, I think he has that athletic profile, like I said, to create big plays and has the big size over the middle to make plays as well. So I'm really excited to see what Reggie White can do next season in Montreal. Now, this next guy is a guy that would have been on a breakout candidate list last year if I had done one, and that is defensive lineman Antonio Simmons of the Edmonton Elks. And he hasn't quite established himself as a full-time star starting defensive end in the CFL, but I think he has all the tools in his toolbox to do so. Can win with power, can win with finesse, has great get-off from the defensive end position. I really think he just needs that full-time, full 18-game season starting opportunities because he showed so much potential in Montreal over the past couple of seasons. I thought he was arguably their best defensive end in 2019, and I'm just really excited to see what he can do in Chris Jones's defense. I think he can use him in a lot of creative ways, and he's probably the best defensive end on that roster right now. So I think he is primed to actually really become a full-time starting and star defensive end in the CFL in 2022. For this next pick, we're going back to the wide receiver position with wide receiver Rasheed Bailey of the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. And I think with Winnipeg this offseason, a lot of their questions about how they're going to be able to carry over their success from the past couple of seasons is going to be dependent on how they fill those receiving roles that they lost, guys like Darvin Adams and Kenny Lawler in free agency. This is going to be such an important aspect for them. Obviously, Greg Ellingson coming over in free agency is going to help a lot, and I think Ellingson is going to play that number one role. But I think Bailey has quietly been a very solid receiver over the past couple years. Hasn't really gotten the target share that makes him a number one guy, but I think he has shown the capability of being deserving of more opportunities for Winnipeg and has that athletic profile, again, like a lot of these guys I've talked about as breakout candidates on this list, to hit big plays. And I think that is a big separating factor because a lot of CFL receivers, they don't have that breakaway speed to make plays down the field. And I think that Bailey absolutely possesses that, and I'm really excited to see what he can do with a bigger role in this Winnipeg offense, and he's a guy that Zach Collaros trusts a lot, so I think he is primed for a breakout role as either a number 2 or 3 receiver for Winnipeg next season. Now moving to Ottawa now, and another wide receiver here, and that is Ryan Davis, a guy that really impressed me last season as a guy that, didn't have any supporting help around him. Terrible quarterback play, terrible offensive line play, but made a lot of plays for this team despite all of that. And a lot of his plays, when you look at his yards per catch average, he's only going to be around 10 yards a catch, which is pretty mediocre pedestrian, but a lot of his passes were just caught behind the line of scrimmage, and he was just asked to make yards after the catch because they couldn't protect long enough to throw the ball down the field a lot of the time last year in Ottawa. And I think Ryan Davis is a guy that has that high-end athleticism to really be that do-it-all, all-purpose guy that is going to create big plays and also create yards after the catch for this team next season. And I thought he did a lot of that already in his rookie season. A guy that played at Auburn, has the pedigree, and I think that Ryan Davis is going to be that potential guy that can really grow with this group of veteran receivers that they brought in this offseason, and I'm just really excited to see how he fits in with this Ottawa Redblacks offense in 2022. Now with my final breakout candidate for the 2022 CFL season, and that is Nathan Rourke, quarterback for the BC Lions. And this is a relatively obvious one because, quarterback position will get a lot of the attention, right? But with Nathan Rourke especially, he's a Canadian quarterback, and a lot of people have criticized BC's plan to go with 2 Canadian quarterbacks as their top 2 guys on the depth chart for 2022. But Rourke, honestly, is a guy that, regardless, American-Canadian, has all the physical tools you could want for a quarterback at the CFL level. Also has the ability to run, and that is going to be a very helpful aspect behind this horrible BC Lions offensive line that looks like it's coming back on paper. And, I think Rourke, just being a solid CFL starter, would constitute a breakout season this season. And I'm just really excited to see if he can pull that off. And, I'm going to be cheering for him. I think a lot of Canadians are going to be cheering for him next year. So I'm just really excited to see what Nathan Rourke again can do next season. So that's my list of breakout candidates for 2022. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Be sure to let me know your breakout candidates down in the comments section. I would really appreciate hearing what you guys have to say and what players you guys think are going to have bigger seasons than they previously had in the CFL. I'm really excited. I love talking about this kind of content. So be sure to let me know if you guys liked the video. I really appreciate that, guys. And with that said, I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace.